Welcome back to day 3 of the 5 days to epic pleasure and passion training for high achieving women. I'm thrilled to have you back here today, ladies. Today, I'm going to share with you all about the second part of the first key to my 4-part success system for epic pleasure and passion. And it is all on embodiment. And then the second key to my 4-part success system, which is all about mindset and inner work. You're going to want to make it through this entire training, especially if one of your biggest hangups in your intimate life is being stuck in your head, not knowing how to stop those incessant thoughts, the judgy thoughts, the self-critical thoughts about your body, or even the fantasies, and to just be present during a sexual experience. And you're also really going to want to make it through this entire training if you struggle with negative thoughts and stories about pleasure, connection, sex, and relationships that sabotage your experience of these things. So over the next 3 days, we're going to be going deep again into what it really takes to have epic pleasure and passion as a high-achieving woman. So yesterday, we talked about the unconscious mind and how the nervous system plays a role in how much pleasure, intimacy, and emotional connection that it's going to allow you to experience, and exactly how to rewire and repattern your system so you can increase your capacity for more pleasure and connection. And I even gave you the exact morning pleasure ritual that I give my clients to do so that they learn how to work with their nervous system. So you can download that at the end of the day 2 training. And today we're going to talk about 2 very important things when it comes to experiencing pleasure and passion, which is 1, how to ditch those outdated and unhelpful stories that you have about intimacy, connection, sex, and pleasure, and how to adopt a new empowering mindset through the inner work instead. And then I'm going to share with you about embodiment practices and my favorite thousands-year-old embodiment practice to help you get out of your head, be in your body, experience more pleasure and orgasms more easily, and just to experience a more exquisite, multifaceted experience of sexuality in the first place. All right, ladies, so how does your mindset affect your experience of pleasure, emotional connection, and intimacy? Because of how we grew up, one of the things that comes up in our coaching calls when I take on a new client is the inner child. That's right, the inner child is what I call the unsexy part of sexuality work. That's because everyone, totally unconsciously, is operating in their adult relationships through the lens of a younger, wounded version of themselves. The part of you that witnessed your dysfunctional parents in a relationship who seemed to have no passion or emotional connection, the one that got caught touching yourself, the one that got shamed for walking out of the bathroom naked, or the part of you that was maybe even violated or didn't have a consensual first sexual experience. We all have these massive wounds around relationships and sexuality that keep us from experiencing epic pleasure and passion. And it's often our inner child that will be the first to show up to heal and to integrate. Because our inner child is always running the show in our adult relationships until we go in and make a conscious effort to change these stories and start showing up as an empowered version of ourselves with positive thoughts and stories about intimacy, pleasure, our bodies, our partner, and relationship in general. Until we do that, we are going to continue to live out patterns from our past, and we're going to continue to have a negative story and mindset in these areas of our lives that are going to sabotage every effort for peace in our relationship, that are going to sabotage our pleasure in the bedroom, and that are going to sabotage us showing up authentically in our relationship. Some of the most common negative mindset stories that I hear from women are, number 1, they believe that they aren't capable of experiencing pleasure and desire in the way they want. Number 2, they don't really believe that they're worthy and deserving of pleasure and connection. They know in their heads that they are. They tell themselves all that every day, all day, but they don't feel that in their body as true. And number 3, they don't feel good enough, or they feel that they are too much. They're either too skinny or too fat, too short or too tall, too light-skinned or too dark-skinned. It is all too much or not enough. These stories about pleasure, intimacy, our body, these are all old, outdated stories affecting your current mindset and sabotaging any effort to improve your emotional connection or your pleasure capacity and to be a confident woman in your sex life and your relationship. This negative mindset is debilitating and it keeps you from what you want, promise. Simply telling yourself the new story over and over until you're blue in the face, like you would read an affirmation or say an affirmation out loud. I am worthy of pleasure, right? This isn't going to actually do anything to change the story. This is why inner work and embodiment practices are crucial to experience true transformation and change in your relationship and sex life. Inner work is about making aware the negative stories and mindset that we're still holding on to and stepping into and claiming new relationship and sexual identities that we choose to show up as instead of our wounded inner child, for example. This is where traditional cognitive behavioral therapy and couples counseling, or even most sex therapy, stops. And it is why inner work and embodiment practices are crucial. When it comes to getting the new empowered story in your bones, when it comes to it not just being a nice thought that you tell yourself or a nice story that you tell yourself, but you don't actually believe it to be true at the end of the day around intimacy and pleasure and connection. Embodiment practices help the new mindset to sink in even deeper, getting your mind and your body aligned and on the same page, because right now, promise you, they are not. So what are embodiment practices, you say? Well, these are specific practices that connect your mind and your body. They get them aligned. The mind may believe one thing, but the body might believe another. Embodiment practices support the integration of your mind and body and gets them on the same page. Scientists have recently found that thoughts reside in the body just as much as they do in the mind. In other words, the mind is largely influenced by your body and how it interacts with the physical world. Embodiment practices are actually derived from a branch of therapy called somatic therapy. Somatic therapy helps you focus on body sensations that are triggered by thoughts. They attend to the senses and incorporate your physical being into the healing process, which is essential. Somatic, all that means is relating to body. Soma is a root word that means body. So rather than focusing on the mind as other traditional therapy and counseling do, somatic therapy focuses on the feedback loop between the body and the mind, which means that having body awareness, it becomes a crucial part of getting those negative stories and the mindsets out of your body and in line with the new story that you want to be telling yourself. Rather than using language or verbal communication to resolve this issue instead of talking it out in traditional therapy, right? The aim of somatic therapy is to use your body to help release stress, tension, areas of blockages, walls that you have up via an embodiment practice. And you know what my favorite embodiment practice to support you to rewire and repattern your body for epic sex, pleasure, and emotional intimacy and connection is? It is the ancient yoni egg or jade egg practice. Yoni just means vulva, vagina in Sanskrit, which is the language in India that is used in the tantric text and in describing the practice. Okay, so the jade egg is my absolute favorite embodiment practice because this practice helps you connect with your body in a somatic, holistic way and allows for nourishing healing to happen without you having to go into a story or try and talk things out and hash it out, right? No fun. Embodiment practices, way more fun. The jade egg practice also has some pretty amazing side effects. Doing regular jade egg practices can increase the tone and strength of your pelvic floor, which is directly affected to stronger and longer lasting orgasms. It can increase sensitivity in your vagina, so if you feel really numb down there, you won't, very likely, after practicing the jade egg. It can help you experience greater levels of self-love and acceptance for your body. It can help you experience more blood flow and wetness in the vaginal tissue. It helps prevent vaginal dryness that many women experience during menopause. It helps you balance your emotions. It helps you build a somatic connection to your vagina after years of disassociating or disconnecting from it. So the jade egg practice, it comes from the Taoist tradition in China about 1500 years ago. And it was only taught to the high priestesses and courtesans at the time to help them maintain sexual aliveness and vibrancy even through their menopausal years. It's pretty much like yoga for your vagina. The practice is not simply wearing the egg around mindlessly. Many people on the internet, they're going to bash the jade egg practice. Why? First of all, because it's cheap and free and it doesn't take a pharmaceutical to use it and there's no money in it. So of course it's not going to be something that people promote like from the Western medical system. So also they bash the practice because they don't understand what it even is. Many of them think that the jade egg practice is simply wearing the jade egg around. So the jade egg is literally just an egg-shaped stone that you use in your vagina, and you do different squeezes and releases and breathwork practices with it. So wearing it around, that's not the practice. The jade egg practices are an extensive energetic practice where many of the practices aren't even taught with using the egg because it's all about working with your energy. And when they are taught properly, it's going to involve energetic and foundational practices that don't use the egg. So when you do use the egg, all it is learning different squeezes to tone and strengthen the pelvic floor and breathwork practices and meditations that just helps you create a ritual of connecting more deeply with your body and sexuality. So the practice is very intentional and it can be ritualistic, and it helps you stay sexually vibrant through the years. It wakes up your sexual desire if it's been dormant for a while, so you can have a stronger, longer lasting connection to pleasure and orgasm. Maybe it can help you orgasm in different ways. It certainly did for me. So learning the jade egg practice, it is the best sexual health, sexual training, and embodiment practice to help you take all of those nice things that you tell yourself to be true about, oh, I'm a queen, oh, my body is beautiful, and actually feel them as real and true in your bones. Because it is a mind-body practice. It's not just involving your mind. It's actually involving the part of your body that most of us judge and criticize the most. So yes, you can do all the therapy in the world, but nothing is going to connect you with your vagina, get you out of your head and into your body, and sensitize you so that you can have epic pleasure and orgasms like the jade egg practice will. And that's why I love it so much. If you're someone who's struggled with vibrator dependency, for example, this is also the practice that you're going to want to partake in to build new neural pathways in your brain so you can orgasm without it or in different ways if you using a vibrator feels limiting to your experience of sex and pleasure. If it does, then I want to remind you that applications for the next round of the Multiorgasmic Bliss group coaching program are closing next week on January 26th, 2024. So this is what we do in that program. We actually do a lot of jade egg practices. We do lots of embodiment work. We have weekly group coaching sessions where you're going to be meeting with other like-minded women going through the exact same thing that you are. You'll have a community to support you. You will have my accountability and support to take you through all of this inner child integration and resetting your mindset and your beliefs and doing embodiment practices like the jade egg and so many more. So if you haven't gotten your application in, I want to highly encourage you to get that in ASAP because the applications close January 26th. What you'll do is head to the link down below in the show notes. You'll book a call time with me, and we're going to get on the call and discuss whether or not it's a good fit for you. So I'm just going to go over some of your history, what's going on in your relationship and sex life. We'll talk about what you're wanting to create for yourself in that area. We'll talk about the blocks and obstacles in the way and what it's really going to take to overcome it. And then we'll discuss the details of the program. And if I feel like it's a good fit, I'll invite you in. And if you see the value in working together, you'll get yourself on in and we will help you experience the most amazing transformation ever, my love. All right, ladies, let's recap for the day. Today, we talked about how to ditch the outdated and unhelpful stories that you have about intimacy, connection, sex, and pleasure, and how to adopt a new empowering mindset through inner work. So you've got to ditch the inner child or inner teenager's version, and you got to empower a new identity that knows how to get what you want, right? Like your inner sex goddess or your inner queen of relationships or anything you want to call it, really. I'll help you discover that. And then we went over also my favorite 1,000-year-old embodiment practice to help you get out of your head into your body and actually embody the good, nice stories that you tell yourself to be true that you really want to believe, but at the end of the day, you really don't, because your mind and your body aren't integrated. It's one thing to believe it in your head. It's another thing to feel it in your body. And I want you to feel these new stories that you tell yourself to be true about intimacy and pleasure and sex. I want you to feel it as true, because that's where confidence comes from, my love. All right, I'm so excited to talk to you tomorrow all about reigniting passion by decoding your erotic language for deeper connection. But before we move into it, I did want to share with you one amazing case study from my client, Irene, who was very skeptical of the jade egg practice, probably a lot like you are right now. Irene is a mom of 3 and a stepmom of 2 who found herself to be very overgiving and people-pleasing. She seriously lacked sexual desire from having kids all the time, no time for her and her partner. She had a serious lack of sleep issue from having a 2-year-old and a baby, all of the things, okay? She was burned out with all of the caregiving, and she needed a break or a vacation. She seriously thought that the cure to all of her problems was to take a vacation without the kids. And while that's lovely and nice, and I'm sure that that can be a very great reset for you, it doesn't actually solve the issue, because you come home and then you have the same problems you had before you went on vacation, right? Well, her husband wasn't working for a while either, which also caused a lot of resentment between the two of them. She was the one supporting them financially. She was the caregiver primarily, and she found it hard to feel supported, to enjoy herself, to be in her pleasure, because she was always working. All she wanted was a darn break to just relax, be in her pleasure. She needed more play in her life. She was also the classic empath who just found it hard to be okay when someone else wasn't. She was so sensitive to people's energy. She really struggled with boundaries and always felt like everyone was taking something from her or wanting something from her. Irene struggled being in her head a lot and criticizing herself for not being able to just be in the moment and enjoy herself. She also experienced some very non-consensual early sexual experiences that were massively impacting her present moment reality with her husband. How she felt frozen and numb inside and her boundaries, she had no idea that it was these traumas from years ago that were affecting her present moment experience of intimacy with her husband. So after going through one of my coaching programs, Irene credits the jade egg practice, which was super skeptical to her at first. She thought, this is crazy. I can't believe anything like this would ever help me. But looking back, you can even go listen to it on the Multiorgasmic Millionaire podcast, because I interviewed her on there. She credits the jade egg practice for thawing out, for denumbing, that she was finally able to feel in her body again. Halfway through the program, she had a massive breakthrough around this. She learned self-consent through the jade egg practice. She stopped forcing and pushing her turn on sexually. She started initiating sex when she hadn't felt that urge since one of her sons was born 6 years ago. So it had been 6 years that she just didn't care about sex. She was so happy to feel like herself again and felt honored by her husband just to be herself. She felt like her husband was beginning to love all parts of her again instead of just certain parts of her. Irene realized that she was totally self-loathing and blocking miracles in her life through the processes that I help take women through. And once she opened those floodgates, she manifested a new job opportunity and more work from her current job that she really enjoyed. And the best part is she started feeling things in her body again, feeling more turned on, feeling a tingling sensation throughout the day, feeling alive and vibrant, and having a healthy relationship with her husband again. I'm a big fan of Irene. She made some incredible progress working with me in one of my programs. So if you're thinking, wow, Tilly, that sounds incredible. I would love to put a rock up my vagina and have results like that. That sounds super cool. Then definitely get the application in for the next round of the Multiorgasmic Bliss group coaching program. Again, applications close for this round on January 26, 2024. I hope to see you there, and you can apply at the link in the show notes. Just book the call and answer a few questions, and we'll hop on and see if it's right. Bye.